Hey guys, this is part two of my tutorial video on making circles rotate. I'll kind of show you kind of where we left off. Basically, we are to this point right now of, basically having this green circle rotate around this black circle right here. First and foremost, if you have not seen my first video, I highly recommend it. I'm actually going to put a link to that video in the what is it? In the comments below, or in the description below. YouTube. I'll probably also put a link to this code in the description as well. Just so that you can maybe see it yourself. So what I want to do, so the last video, if you did not see it, first again, if you did not see the last video, stop this video and go watch the last video. Basically, that tells you, that goes over writing all this code right here. Now, that being said, this video is going to kind of clarify some stuff from the last video. It's also going to kind of show you how to maybe manipulate some stuff here a little bit to make it more to what you want it to be, or just kind of show you kind of how some different stuff works, basically. So now the first thing I want to show, the first thing I want to see, and I think I know what's going to happen with this. I just need to see it for myself. Is if we get rid of this angle mode degrees, this I want to say that this is going to rotate very much faster than what it was. So you kind of, actually, hang on, before I do that, let me show you how it rotates now. So this is how it rotates. Fairly fast speed, but we can still kind of see it. I'm going to comment out the angle mode degrees, and let's see how it rotates. Very stinking fast now. All right, that's it. So fast that it has to have two of them. Now, if I remember correctly, I think what we could maybe do is have this maybe start at 2. I want to see if I can maybe that'll help it out there. So I'm going to start this at 2, and that's what it is right there. So if you did not, and I mentioned in the last video, you don't have to have the angle mode degrees here to really make this rotate. It's just, you're going to have to kind of maybe mess around with the numbers here. So if you don't want to have, if you say forget to write this angle mode degrees, like literally these comment bars, basically you could just pretend that this isn't even here. If you don't have to have angle mode degrees to do this, you would just have to have you'd have to have much smaller numbers for your cosine and your sine right here. Okay. And shoot, what if we had angle mode degrees with those two numbers? Let's see what would happen. Okay, so it rotates. It just makes it much slower. Okay, so we'll bump that back up to 200. So we'll bump that back up to 200 there, and then cause that there. So okay, so again, just showing you that angle degrees, the angle mode degrees, you don't have to have that there. You'll just have to have different numbers inside for the 200. Now one thing, and I actually was asking myself this, and I figured it out. Why we need to have basically this set of code right here. Now again, if you don't remember, first of all, watch that old video. But secondly, this right here is essentially creating a rectangle outside the entire canvas. All right, it's drawing a white rectangle outside of the whole canvas. Now, why do we do that? Well, if we were to say do this right here, and tell it to draw, it leaves it actually leaves a picture of the circle behind itself. Now, I'm not going to lie, that's actually pretty cool. But if you're trying to get the, basically the illusion of the circle going around and around, which actually I have another part of that pulled up kind of like this right here, you don't want to have that happen. So that is why we have that rectangle right there. And that's what happens if we don't have that. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't understand why that is, to be honest with you. I couldn't really tell you what about that makes the circle appear and not appear. Actually, what if I did this? What if we did a no fill? I am actually genuinely experimenting right now. I'm just genuinely experimenting with a no fill, which it's basically the same exact thing. So, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. So, but yeah, so that's basically, actually, wait, I think it was I forget what I'm looking. I honestly kind of forgot what I was looking for there. But yeah, basically, if you did a no fill of that with the white, it would still kind of cause it to, circle around to kind of leave a trail of itself. So again, I don't understand completely why we need that invisible rectangle there. It's just, I'm just letting you know what happens if you don't put it there. All right. So, in case you may get stuck, you might just have to put the rectangle in there. Um, the ellipse here. So again, this black ellipse right here. This is just your center. So like, if we go back to the code, those two lines of code is literally just the black circle in the middle there. Now, what you can do is if you want to change this, you can. Like if you want to say, I don't want it in the middle, I want it down here. Okay, you can change that. Maybe you, instead of in the middle, you want it at, I don't know, 200, 500. Now, if you do that, you need to, and if you want to keep the same kind of effect of the circle rotating around, you need to change the x and the y variable down here. So if you change the x to 200, this has to change to 200. If you change this to 500, this has to change to 500. And if we take a look, it's basically rotating, but we just kind of shifted it from kind of where it was at the middle. We shifted it down here. Now, let's go back here. If you hadn't done that, if you had said kept this at 400, kept that at 300, all you did was just change those two numbers and then not change those two numbers, you will actually still have the circle rotating, but it's not rotating around this circle anymore. It's rotating around just that center part right there, okay? So again, that's why I tell you that these two numbers right here have to match these two numbers if you want it to rotate around a specific circle. Now, if you want to, now that might actually give you ideas to maybe do some like effects, like, oh, it's rotating around this or that or whatever. That might give you some ideas, but just letting you know that if you want that to happen, it has to do that. So I'm actually going to change this back to the 400, 300. 300 right there. So that's that. Let's see. At the milliseconds, let's say we didn't multiply this. I think I explained why I did that in the last one pretty clearly, because again, this millis by itself is just milliseconds since the drawing started. Now, I'm pretty sure most of us should know, millisecond is really stinking fast. I'm pretty sure that's not what I wanted to do. That's an accident. But I'm pretty sure if I got rid of the multiply by point, decimal, it's going to rotate. It's going to go around super stinking fast. So that's why we multiply. And again, it's just the little star button. I did Shift 8 to get to that. And I did 0.00, I believe, 1 to that. And that slows it down, okay? And so basically what I would do is I would play around. If you want it to go faster or slower, I would play around with this number right here, okay? That number is really what's going to make it go faster or go slower, okay? So if you're wanting to rotate it slower, just maybe mess around with that number. There might be some people that say, and again, I think I showed kind of clearly what happens if you change this number. Again, if that number is a smaller number, it's going to be more in the center of that circle. If it's a larger number, it's going to go way out. So if this is like 150, say instead of if it was 300, it would be way out there. So it's rotating, but it's way out there now. Okay, so this just determines this number out front determines how far or how close it is to the circle, basically. This 200 number out in front here, this I think only just kind of determines the starting position. So I think literally if you change this to 50, I don't think it would really change all that much, basically. I think it makes it slower. Okay, so I think actually the larger this number is, the slower it goes. So this number and this number actually have to do with timing, or deal with the speed of the rotation. So just depends on how fast you want it to go. So again, this could be 200. If we make it 200, it'll speed back up. So that actually causes it to speed back up. Okay, so basically this number and these two numbers cause the speed of the rotation to increase or decrease for that matter. Okay. Also another thing, now I think a lot of people might be wondering, why do all these numbers have to be the same? Well, let's start with the number on the outside. Let's say if this was 150. Instead, so one's 150, one's 300. Let's see what happens for that. And what we're going to notice here is that the rotation is not what we maybe want it to be. Now, again, this might give some people some ideas of, hey, that looks pretty cool. I might want my rotation to look like that. And if that's the case, go for it. But some people, if they want the full just around the circle perfect rotation or the perfect ellipse or orbit, that's what I was looking for, the perfect orbit, you want these to be the same exact number. I believe that is also the case if you change, say, the number inside of either sine or cosine. So say that you change that, it's actually going to, kind of cause a little bit of, not even an orbit anymore. It's going to kind of cause a little boomerang action to occur. So that's changing the sine of the cosine. Let's say change that to change that. I think that might kind of causes it to do a little infinity action loop there. That actually looks pretty cool. Now, again, to be honest with you, I am not to the expert to where I can explain kind of the math behind why that is happening. I'm just kind of showing you what I know, or kind of showing you what can happen. All right. But basically, again, if you want the perfect orbit around the circle, these numbers, basically the numbers in this parenthesis and the numbers in these parentheses have to be the same. Okay. Let's see here. I think everything else is good. Now, again, some people might be asking, okay, why do I have a variable t? Why do I have a variable x? Why? What's the reasoning behind all these variables right here? Well, basically, I would say that's more for conciseness. Again, this x and these y, this is basically the center of that rotating green circle right there. All right. And again, again, just for the reminders, it's this t right here being equal to the milliseconds, which is always changing, that causes the rotation. It causes the center of that circle to always change. It doesn't allow it to stay in one specific spot. Now, I need to basically what I need to do is I need to write a circle, which is ellipse, that the x-coordinate is always changing and the y-coordinate is always changing, all right? Because, again, if the x-coordinate changes, it would always just go up, down, up, down, up, down. If the y-coordinate changed, actually, I think x would be this. I think x would be this way and y would be this way. Now, and again, I could just write all of that in here, but that would look really cluttered. So, again, that's why I defined x to be this, and I defined y to be this. Because, again, variable x, that's just the x-coordinate of the rotating ellipse. Variable y, that is the y-coordinate of the rotating ellipse, okay? And again, this t right here, we put that right here. You can actually multiply by milliseconds times this, but again, I just like it, shorter. Define the variable up here to make it more concise. And then, of course, that rotating, circle on the outside, if you wanted to change the radius, so it's 20 right now, let's say it changes to 100, we'd get something that looks like that, okay? So, and I believe that should be about everything to cover for that. Once again, I'm going to save this. Actually, let's go ahead and save it right now. I'm just going to call it rotating circle. And we're going to go ahead and submit that. So basically, here's the code up here for this, and I'm also going to put a link to this in the description of this video, and also the last video as well. Actually, no, probably just this one. I'll make you guys watch the old one. But once again, if you haven't watched the first part of this video, basically the one where I kind of basically wrote all the code, I would say make sure to go back and watch that one. If you haven't watched that and got to this part, that's probably not the best idea in the world, but in either which way. And yeah, I just say watch that, and again, go back and watch any parts of this video to just kind of see how everything kind of does what. So, yeah, that's basically it. That's one of the ways that you can make circle. That's probably, I'd say, for the novice at OpenProcessing, that's probably one of the easier ways to make circles rotate around a circle. And again, as you see, that ain't a whole lot of code. That's only 22 lines of code that we use. That doesn't have to be that complicated, all right? I mean, you can do that. So, Alrighty, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.